So we're back with Jordan Maxwell today, and we're going to be continuing off where we last left off on these incredible experiences he's had. And Jordan, the last time I was with you, you were telling me about this experience, this absolutely mind-bending experience with Bob Leeds. Would you be able to tell us about that?
Yeah, Bob Leeds is a dear, dear friend, but I haven't seen him in years. But I love Bob Leeds. He's my dear friend. I wish he would hear this and give me a call because I'd love to talk with him again. I miss him terribly. But I met Bob. Well, first of all, Bob was down in San Diego. He lived in San Diego, about 2 blocks from me. And, and we met up in Portland, Oregon, and that's a whole story in itself. I'll have to tell you about one of these days. That is a real strange story about how we met and what went on up in Portland. But anyway, we found out that up in Portland that I lived in San Diego, and so did he. Well, as it turns out, he was only about 2 blocks from me. So we became very dear friends up in Portland when we first met. We became very close friends instantly. Bob was the kind of guy you could really love quickly. You know, he was a really nice, but he was a kind of a heavy set big guy, worked in the motion picture industry, you know, a large guy, big guy, and he worked in the motion picture industry, and very important man. And so I met him, like I said, in Portland, and then we come find out that we both live close to each other in San Diego. And so when we got back, we started hanging out together, going out to dinner and movies and whatever. And so one morning, Saturday morning, Bob called me and said, "I want to take you out to breakfast. We'll go to a really nice place." He said, "So wherever it is you want to go, you know, well, I'm buying, so wherever you want to go, I want to take you to breakfast." So he came over, and we get in the car and we start to leave. Now we're in San Diego, and I said, "Well, where I'd like to go is Escondido." Well, Escondido is a little small, tiny little town about 15 miles north of San Diego off the 15 freeway, about 10 miles north of San Diego on the 15 freeways. And he said, "Wait a minute. I said I was going to take you to breakfast in San Diego. I had in mind going to a really fancy place in downtown." And I said, "You said I could go where I want to go." And yeah, that's true. And I said, "Well, that's where I want to go. I want to go to Escondido." And he said, "There's nothing in Escondido. It's just a little tiny town. There's nothing there." I said, "Well, that's where I want to go." So he said, "All right, so we'll go to Escondido." So we get on the freeway, the 15 freeway, and we're driving north. And it's about a half-hour drive. And so while we're driving, the subject matter that came up was people that we would love to see, at one more time in our life. Friends that we've had that we haven't seen in many, many years, childhood friends, whatever, and somebody you really want to see. And so I told him about a couple of, friends of mine I went to school with, and I would love to know where they are today because we were so close when we were growing up. And then he told me about two of his friends, and he said one of them, he said, "I would love nothing more than to see my two friends that I have lost contact with many years ago. One is a uh, Indian that he was like a surrogate father to me. He was like another father to me." He said, I was like his son, and I used to hang out with him, and he was such a wonderful father-like figure for me when I was growing up. And I would love to be able to see that old man, again, but I haven't seen him in years. And then he said, and my other friend was a Mormon general contractor. And I went to school with him. We were the closest two people could be. We were as close as two friends could be. Went to school with him. He was my dearest friend, and I've lost track of him. Don't know where he is. Nobody who knows us knows where he lives. I haven't seen either one of them, and those are the two people I really would like to see. So we're just talking, just a current conversation. And so when we get into Escondido, we get off on, and there's only one street going through town that's the main street, because it's such a little small place. And he said, all right, now where are we going to have breakfast here? There is no place here. And so I said, well, just keep driving. We'll find a place. So, and I definitely wanted to be in Escondido and have breakfast there for some reason. And so he said, all right, so we'll find some place. So we're driving down the main street, and there was a IHOP, the International House of Pancakes. So I said, there it is. There's IHOP. That's where I want to go. And he said, you realize they got IHOPs 2 blocks away from your house? And we got to come all the way up to Escondido, and I was going to take you to a fancy restaurant, and you're coming up here to Escondido to an IHOP? And I said, look, you said I could go where I want, and that's where I want to go, is IHOP. He said, all right, so we'll go to IHOP. So we pull in and park, and we go in. Well, IHOP is full. People, the place is crowded because it's the only place in town for food, for breakfast. So we wait in line, and finally they come and get us. There's a little booth in the back. So we go back there and sit down. I've got my back against the group, and he's got his back against the wall, seeing the restaurant room. I don't, and I immediately noticed a change in his demeanor. Quickly, I noticed something. Something was bothering him very badly, and I watched his eyes, and he was kind of scared. I guess that was what I was feeling, as it was kind of like a fear came over him, and I could see it in his eyes. And I talked to him, and he didn't hear me. And so I know he's more than concentrating. Something is wrong. And so I said, Bob, I got his attention. I said, Bob, what's wrong? And he says, there is the old Native American, and there's my friend, the contractor. There they are both, right there, the two of them. And he said, I don't believe it. Coming up to this little town of Escondido to an IHOP, I just got through telling you the two people I wanted to see, and there they are, both of them, sitting there together. I cannot believe this. And he went over there and sat there, and I had breakfast by myself. He sat and had breakfast with them. And when I left, when we were leaving, he said, I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on here, but every time I'm around you, strange stuff happens. And he said, but I am absolutely amazed. This is the two people I was telling you about on the way up here, and they're both sitting here having breakfast. He said, I have no idea how you do that. And I said, I didn't do anything. I just told you where I wanted to go. So that was quite an experience. That's quite an experience that happened. And Bob Lee's, every time I talk with him, he would tell me, I don't know how you did that. And the last time I talked with Bob was back in 1996. No, yeah, 1999, because I was just getting ready to go for the first time to Egypt to speak at a conference in Cairo in 1999. And he called me for the first time, and that happened back in 1990. So in 1999, he calls me, and I said, Bob, where in the world have you been? And he said, well, I'm over here in England. We're shooting a movie with Steven Seagal. And I'm here with Steven at his place. And we were just talking about you. I was telling him all about you. And we thought we'd give you a call and say hello. And so it was about time, for God's sake. So I talked with him. And so that was then. That was back in 1999. I haven't seen him since. But there's a reason. I mean, there's another story that goes with that. But I was actually myself shocked when those two people that he was talking about just a few minutes before were right there in the restaurant, and we could have gone anywhere in San Diego. But we went north into a little small town, into a little IHOP, and there were the two people he wanted to see most in his life, and they were both there. How does that happen?
That's incredible, and that's what I love about these stories. people have no idea the extraordinary people you have been around, and these things that just keep happening to you and happening to you your whole life. They just surround you. It's because of who you are and what you came here to do. And I think that that's the most amazing thing. And if people start to really pay attention to these stories, there's incredible clues in there, I think, to who you are, where you come from. But that is
Well, and I've
fascinating.
got I told you that I met Bob Leeds up in Portland, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the rest of the story is back up to how I met him. I was sitting in San Diego in '96, I think it was, and having dinner on the ocean at a French restaurant on the ocean in '96 with my friend who was a psychic, astrologer, psychic guy who was very, very psychic. I mean, he used to tell me all kinds of things that was going to happen, and they happened exactly like he said. So we were having dinner in the afternoon, late afternoon, and then we went out on and set out on the waters for a couple of drinks, and we're sitting there talking. My friend, this psychic friend of mine, and so I said to him, I said, "So what's going on with me? Tell me." So he said, "Well, all right." He said, "Now this was in 90. What did I say? 96? I think I said,
Yes, you did 96.
yeah, I think it was 95 then. Anyway, 96. Anyway, he said next year. Now this was in like August of the year. It was like August, an August afternoon, San Diego, and he said, all right, next year on January 2nd, 3rd, 3, 4, and 5, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Yeah. He said, this happened, quite a long time ago. And he said, uh, so when I asked him, so what's happening with me? He said, all right, here's what's going to happen. Uh, in January of next year, January 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you're going to go to Portland, Oregon, and you're going to be hosting a science conference in Portland, Oregon. And you're going to be on the stage on Sunday. There's going to be a question and answer period program on Sunday, and you're going to be the host of the question and answer period. And he said that you are going to say something to the audience that's going to catch the attention of a man that's sitting on the stage, off stage. He's behind a curtain, and he's sitting there watching you and watching the audience, but you don't see him. And he's going to be sitting behind the curtain watching you, and you're going to say something that's going to really catch his attention. After the question and answer period is over, he's going to come up to you as you're leaving and walking off the stage. He's going to stop you, and he's going to introduce himself and give you a business card, and he's going to tell you that he wants to talk with you in the lobby. The two of you will go into the lobby, and he said, and he's going to tell you that he's connected to the motion picture business, and he's going to say to you, I'm going to make a movie on your life. I'm going to make a movie on your life because I've been following your work. I've been hearing you, and I've watched you today. And so he says, I was here at this event because I was sitting on the backstage behind the curtain here watching the audience. And he said, the reason I was sitting up here is I'm very interested to hear all the speakers at this science conference, of course. But what I was mostly interested in as an entertainment guy in the entertainment business, I was mostly interested in who the audience was listening to. What kind of attention was each speaker getting? So I was studying the audience to see who they really liked and who they were bored with. And he said, I watched the audience as you came up and as you presented yourself. I watched the audience, and for the first time during the day with this whole question and answer period, everybody got quiet when you walked up. Normally when other people walk up, there's a lot of commotion in the audience, people talking to each other. He said, but for some reason, when you walked up on the platform, I noticed the audience all got quiet. And that was strange to me. Why did that happen? That everybody seemed to, to feel the need to be quiet. And he says, so I watched that happen. And he says, so you began talking to the audience, and some of the things you said was so outrageously, what was the word he used? Some outrageous and challenging things that you said to the audience. Well, I remember what I said, but I'm not going to say it here. But it got the audience's attention, and there was a lot of very important people there for the science conference from all over the world. Motion picture people, television executives, movie stars. It's very impressive. And so I forgot to tell you this. Let me back up real quick. So my psychic friend told me it's going to be January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. No, 3, 4, and 5. 3rd, 4th, and 5th of January. It's going to be in Portland, etc. And then he told me about what was going to happen, and the guy is going to be on the stage and all of that. Well, a couple of months later, this was like in August, so a couple of months later, I got a phone call from Dave Talbot. And Dave Talbot was putting on a major science conference. So he called and said, Jordan, I'd like to have you host a conference for us. We'd like to have you host a conference. And I said, David, what kind? He said, it's going to be a science conference. And I said, David, I don't know anything about science. Why would I be hosting a science? I can't even spell the word. And he said, well, you just come and just introduce the speakers and host the program. We'll do all the talking. So I said, okay, so where is it? And he said, it's going to be in Portland, Oregon. Really? Well, when? And he said, January 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's what my psychic friend said. Portland, Oregon, January 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And so I did. I went up there. Well, so that's why on the stage I said what I said. It got Bob Leeds' attention. Well, that's what my psychic friend said. And so as I was walking off the stage, he stopped me and said, Jordan, I want to talk with you in the lobby. And I'm thinking, this is what my psychic friend said. So we went out in the lobby, we sat down, and he gave me his business card and showed me who he was. And he said, I'm going to make a movie about you because I've been following your work. And what you said today on the platform just knocked me out. And it was so controversial, but the way you handled it, the audience, he says, I'm just going to make a movie about you. And so that's when we became such good friends. Then when we found out that we lived close to each other and we came back home, we drove back home together from all the way up from Portland. We drove all the way back together to San Diego. And that's why, like I said, and then later on he was going out to breakfast and wanted to go out to breakfast with me. And so the other thing that happened too is we went out to breakfast, and after that, we were talking coming back from breakfast. And Bob told me, he said, it's the strangest thing when I'm around you. I feel like there's some kind of a vortex around you. And he says, I don't know, I'm just getting the feeling and that there's some kind of a spinning vortex around you where strange people come in, strange things happen to you, you meet people, you're not. And he said, all I'm seeing is I'm just telling you what my gut feeling is. There's some kind of a spinning vortex around you. And he said, it's like a swastika. That's what a swastika is. It's a sun swirling in a circle, and that's what they call a swastika. And that's what he said. It's kind of like a swastika swirling around in a born. I said, Pensacola, Florida. Oh yeah, Pensacola. Yeah, okay. I'd been to Pensacola. I knew he knew where it was. And so that night, after that incident at the IHOP, we decided to go to a movie. And the movie was just coming out. It was Contact. With the movie Contact. I don't remember who the girl was.
With Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
Carl
Right,
Sagan's movie. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're in the movie, And in the movie, when the scientists are looking for a message from space with their equipment, they start picking up. Remember in the movie, they was picking up something that was an organized message from outer space. They were picking up these beeps, and they're running around quick because it's not a regular thing. This is something they're picking up on their machines, on their dishes, if you remember the movie. And so they all gather around the big screen to see what this beeping is, and it all of a sudden begins to come into focus. It's a swastika circling around in a circle. And Bob Leeds looks at me and shakes his head. That's just what he got through saying when we're on the way to the movie. You remind me of a vortex, like a swastika going in a circle. And there in the movie, an hour later, is a swastika going in a circle. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and he just shook his head. And then later on in the movie, right after that in the movie, if you remember, the little girl is in her bedroom and she's talking on a ham radio, remember? And she's talking, and her father comes in the movie, Contact. And her father comes in and says, "Who are you talking to on your ham radio? Who are you talking to?" And she said, "Oh, it's my friend who's into all kinds of strange stuff." "Oh, really?" "Yeah." And well, where is he? She said, "Pensacola, Florida." That's in the movie.
Oh my God.
That's in the movie. He's
Oh
from
my.
Pensacola, Florida, and he's into all kinds of strange stuff. That's what the little girl says in the movie.
And there you are
And
from
there I am
Pensacola,
sitting with him.
Florida
I
with a
just got through
vortex.
telling him I'm from Pensacola, Florida, and he said, "You remind me of a swastika in a circle, going in a circle, and he looks at me. I look at him the second time. She said, "From Pensacola, Florida," and he looks at me and shakes his head. And afterwards, it was coming out. He said, I don't know who you are. I don't know how this stuff happens. I don't understand it, but stuff happens around you. Every time I'm around you, strange things happen. I don't know who you are, where you've come from, but there's no doubt in my mind, I'm going to make a movie on you. I've seen it for myself." So I just thought that's just one more experience that I've had with Bob Leeds.
I love it, and that's the thing. I really do believe. Well, I know that from what you've said in your past experiences, that this has been confirmed for you by psychics and those who
Oh,
have been
yes.
able to see that you have incarnated here from somewhere else, and you've been sent here with a very specific mission. But I really do believe that because the stories that you have are absolutely incredible, and the people you've been around. I've seen the photographs of who you have been around, and I mean it's incredible. It's astonishing the amount of knowledge and wisdom you have attained and you've shared. But I want to thank you again for coming on this episode. And I guess I just want to tell everyone else out there, you can look forward to a lot more of these because Jordan's got a lot more of these experiences we're going to be sharing with you here on Metaphysical Source TV. And of course, don't forget to check out Jordan Maxwell, jordanmaxwellshow.com. Make a donation, get in there, check out his book club, and don't go to jordanmaxwell.com because that site has been stolen from him. And
That's
in the
right.
meantime, there's a lot more of this sort of programming and great stuff that you can look forward to on Jordan's